Praise the Lord. This is a weird setup, having to do a service without anybody out there. But we have been planning this all week and probably will continue to do this a couple times a week maybe, between here and my office, so that way you still can have church at home. It's going to be a difficult thing at times because I'm still new to this technology type stuff. But I do believe we need the Word. We need to have church. We can do a praying at home. We can listen to good gospel music at home. But we still need the Word. And yes, there's other preachers, and this is a good time to get a chance to probably listen to some other good messages. You look them up, and many through our assembly, great ministers. Listened to Brother Jay Walden the other night, and just stirring, and it's a good way to feed your heart and soul. And this is for, of course, all of our folks here from the Dalton Church. And I miss you greatly. I miss the fact that we can't fellowship with each other. But this is a strange time. This is a time when we've not really experienced anything like that. I've seen services canceled because of snow, but I've never seen anything canceled because of this. And it is strange because there are some things that still open. I don't understand. To me, the church house is a needed area. But I do understand if it's an area where we're having to stay our distance from different ones, and especially for our elderly, it is best that they stay in. And of course, as most churches are, it's mainly your elderly, your dedicated hearts and souls that come out routinely, that would come out no matter how bad things are. That'd be our elderly. And we would want to keep them, of course, safe. I have a mother that's soon to be 83. Of course, I want to keep her in good health and strength, keep her as long as I can. And of course, I've had different individuals even wonder if I'm too old to get out, but I'm out. And I'm even having to work regularly on my secular job. So I do appreciate the strength. I appreciate the caution our government has set forth. And I just thank God for all of his blessings. I want to share with you a story that is one of my favorite in the Bible. It's one that we read from the book of John, part of Jesus' earlier ministries in the 5th chapter. And it mentions that after there was a feast of the Jews, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem, by the sheep market, a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. And in these lay a great multitude of impotent folks, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at certain season into the pool and troubled the waters. And whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. Jesus said unto him, Rise up, take up thy bed, and walk. I got a chance several years ago while on vacation in Florida to visit the Holy Land exhibit. And in one of their areas at the exhibit, they had this huge room. And in the room, probably about would fill our whole auditorium here, was a design, a model made of Jerusalem in 70 AD. And then during this time, as we was there walking around, and I'm walking all the way around it and looking at all the part, and they had little mannequins of people no bigger than that in the houses and all. I happened to notice in one little section this outdoor pool, and it had 5 sides to it. And immediately I turned to my wife and I said, that's the pool Bethesda. And of course, as the teacher was sharing with us, he elaborated that that's what it was. And I remember this story even as a small child. I've ministered from here several times, but something different come across my heart this week as I was studying upon this and upon this area about the importance of the pool and also the willingness not only of this man, but of others who was gathered around. We find that this pool, had 5 sides to it, there in Bethesda, that there was certain times during the year that an angel would come down. And as the angel would, and it wasn't a visible angel. It wasn't what that they could see. In other words, if they automatically seen the angel kind of easing out of the clouds, whatever, I could just imagine the people gathered even closer, getting ready to jump at one accord. But instead, it was something that wasn't seen, but the moving of the water was seen. And can you imagine different things that could move the water? How many times, maybe a day, that people would sit there and say, I thought I seen the water move, and quickly jump in. And so people were sitting there with their eyes transfixed, watching this pool of water, waiting for it to move. Maybe the ripple effect it would take is maybe a stone would hit or something, that kind of movement. So as their eyes are fixed, there have been people that have been gathered here for years. We find that this particular man had been gathered here for 38 years. For 38 years, he was waiting. He had been in this condition. Bible says that he was impotent. Now, that doesn't mean everyone around was impotent, but it said that there was impotent folks, there were blind, there was halt, there was withered, but all of them were waiting for the moving of the water. I could just imagine someone who was blind was actually brought there daily because they could not see their way. And even as they were sitting their way, I don't doubt that they may have had somebody there with them, knowing that they couldn't see the moving of the water, but they were there to help them. Many of them probably had family members and friends gathered around them, with them, to help them be able to gather into the pool. But this particular man didn't have anybody. And you have to understand when it says that he was impotent. I was looking up, and when a person is impotent, it means that they're unable to take effective action, helpless or powerless. Doesn't mean that he couldn't walk. Just mean that he was in an area that there was at times that he probably felt depressed, defeated, down and out. But his effectiveness to take action, his joints might have been where they just didn't move as well. I know the older I get, it's awful hard to get up in the morning. But that's that area where sometimes it's just hard to get up the move or get up the feeling to move. And in his area, unable to even take any type of effective action. He probably hobbled his way to get there every day. Maybe he had a makeshift wheelchair. The Bible doesn't say. It just says that every day he would come there waiting for the moving of the water. Sitting there all day, of course, you even find that he had even made himself a mattress, a bed, a padding with blankets, whatever, so that he could lay there in a comfortable area. There was probably no doubt that there was times that he would take a short nap, whatever, and every now and then look over. But in any event, this was his daily activity. Impotent, waiting for the moving of the water. We find that we have a lot of so-called Bethesdas today. I found one area that we consider a Bethesda is the church house. You see, the church house, there's no water or pools in the church house. No, but it's an area where people are gathered around waiting for a movement. And we see that a lot in churches. People will come out to the house of God. They're waiting for some type of movement. They sit around service after service waiting for something to come and just shake and stir. Somebody to get up and shout. Somebody to sing that right song that got somebody moving. And the sad part is that they're waiting for someone else. Just as these people were waiting for an angel to make the move, they're waiting for somebody to stir up the waters, to make a move. They're sitting there service after service saying, I just wish so-and-so would just sing this particular song and get a shout going. I wish sister so-and-so over there would just all of a sudden cut loose and just stand and do her shout and do her little thing. And so we're waiting for someone else to move, when God all along is waiting for us to move. His Spirit is already moving and stirring, trying to get us to get up and move, but yet we won't move because we're waiting for someone else to move. These people are waiting for an angel to come and move. Some of us are sitting there thinking, well, maybe an angel to come down here and stir someone up. But God's waiting for you to move. And if not, we become as this man did. He become impotent, unable to take action. And they sit service after service after service and not make a move. Blame everybody else why the service seems to be dead and dry. But what have you done when you were sitting there in the service? What did you do to maybe get up a stirring? Because you're not going to get nothing sitting there on a pew and do nothing. If you want to receive something, you're going to have to get up and move. When was the last time you just stood during a regular song service, clapped your hands, tried to sing along? You said, well, I don't sing. Doesn't matter whether you can sing or not. To get up and be able to make an effort to sing. Even if it's to sing along, to clap your hands. How about raising your hands? How about going down and praying at an altar when no one else is there? Oh, Lord forbid that. Someone would think that I backslid. Somebody would think that I did something wrong. That's not at all what anyone would think. What we need to do is realize that if God moves and stirs and touches upon your heart to get out and go in the altar and pray, you ought to feel that hunger to want to go. Did you realize that maybe if you moved, that person that's been waiting for someone to move will come as well? You could be that one that stirs up the water. But we sit around too many times, and we see that in an area of churches a lot of times, that it's like that pool of Bethesda, that place of deliverance. That's what I always considered a church to be. If I was feeling down and out, if I was feeling bothered about something, I always found that the church house was a great place of deliverance. That's why it bothers me at this time that's going on, that people cannot come to the church house to get their deliverance. Yes, I do miss the fellowship. I miss each and every one of you. But the part I miss the most is just that touch of deliverance that I feel that's always in the house of God. Yeah, I can drive down the road and I can talk with the Lord and I get a touch and all that. There's times I'm on my job, I'll get a touch. In my home, I get a touch. But it's something special in the house of God. I expect it. These people gathered around this pool, expecting a moving of the water, waiting to get theirs. That's what I believe people come to the church house for. They gathered around waiting to get theirs. Years ago, we had this gathering of all us before we started service on Sunday night. And all of us brothers would go in the back room just to gather and pray. Share a few praise requests and prayer requests and gather together. And as we were there, we'd always, after we finished praying, we'd hug each other's neck and we'd tell each other, I don't know about you, but I come to get mine. And that's what it was. We came in then really all geared and ready. The sisters would already be stirred in here because they'd come in and started hitting in the altars and praying. And I mean, it didn't take much to get the service going because we actually came prepared to get a blessing. And that's what's so special about the house of God. To be able to come out and be able to realize this is where I've come to get mine. I've come for a moving. I've come for something to stir and touch. And so many of us need this place. It's going to be hard, I know, within the next month of being able to find that place of deliverance. Does it not mean, though, that you still can't find it? As I said, there's many other places I can find it. It's great when I can find it when I am in the house of God, but the thing is, you need to find that area, that time alone with God. That time when you need to, and yes, I know we're praying for everybody, we're praying for this country, we're praying for things to take place, but there is something that God is asking you, just like he asked this man. He's asking, will thou be made whole? He's asking you, do you want a blessing? Do you want a touch? Do you want your healing? Do you want things to get better? Do you want to be made whole? Now, we can do like this guy did. He made excuses. He's made every excuse in a way that, well, there's nobody here. I ain't got no friends, no family. Nobody seems to care to even make an effort. And there's going to be people that's locked in this next month and all that are waiting for somebody to call them, somebody to wake them, somebody to stir and let them know they care. A lot of our elderly that's sitting there hoping that their kids will even worry about them and bring them something to eat because they can't get out. Especially with the stipulations we have here in the state of Georgia. We don't want our elderly at all out, and if they get caught driving on the road, they can be pulled over. And so, yes, we'll find that area where they're going to be shut in, and they're going to be more lonely than anything. And loneliness is a hard, hard thing. This man sat around the pool, around hundreds of people, and yet he was still lonely. Because that was the excuse he made. I ain't got nobody. I ain't got no one else sit and help me. Someone else help me come. Every time, in fact, every time I'm coming, meaning he was making an effort to move, but somebody would step down before him. And the ideology was, first one in, first one gets theirs. Well, that's where I'm glad that is different with the church. It doesn't mean the first one who makes it to the altar gets theirs and everyone else just has to wait to the next service. It's never been that way. It's the first one that moves is going to get blessed, but that means the second, the third, the fourth, everybody. In fact, it ought to be when we come out to the house of God that we all come within one mind, one accord, and all of us receive what God is wanting to stir and bless within our heart. This is an area where you can get a full breakthrough. And me, I can't wait till we get a chance to fellowship once again together, so I could actually share this message and get some good amens. I almost thought about, well, I ought to record myself a crowd saying amen and keep hitting the button and all that. If I had a little switch or something, I could hit it just so it kind of pumps you up. Because when you say amen to a preacher's preaching, that's like saying sick him to a bulldog. Eh? He can get stirred up real quick. But I am still stirred today to be able to minister and tell you that God wants to make a way. And he wants to bring forth a breakthrough in your life. But he's asking you this question. Do you want to be made whole? You want to sit around and bellyache, complain, and blame the government, and blame all the people who gets out and keeps this thing going. You can make every excuse in the world, but God's asking you, do you want to be made whole? If you want yours, well then the next thing I like, he sit there, and after he made the excuse, Jesus told him the simple thing that he's telling you. Get up, rise, make up that bed, and walk. Lift your hands towards heaven. Thank God for what he's getting ready to do. Thank him for the miracles getting ready to take place. I believe that during this time, a lot of people is going to actually draw closer to God because there's nothing better to do. I listened to a woman the other day mention how it gave her more of a chance to actually listen to preaching than she ever had before. There's people who usually doesn't get out, and especially on Sundays when I think everyone ought to be able to get out, when the church house is open and available, but they don't. They find it easier to take that as a day of rest and relax, and yet they're missing out. And now they're getting a chance to get some preaching because they can't get out. They can't go to the lake. They can't do all these things that they want to really regularly do, but now they have to sit. And so why not turn on the Word and get some good preaching? Myself, I've been feeding myself for the last month with preaching and singing from every source that's just been coming through and feeding my heart and soul. And it's got me a greater hunger. I feel like not only have I gotten up and took up my bed to walk, I'm in a run. And I just won't know where to run to. And I'm so thankful that God has been moving and touching and blessing. We've got so much that we are planning and working on here at the church. It's coming up a homecoming next month, but here it is, even next Sunday. It's supposed to be Easter Sunday, and no church is allowed to have service on an Easter Sunday. It used to be talking about one of the only times a year that people even go to church, and yet they're going to sit around at home. And the part I only worry about is individuals who sit at home become impotent, become blind or halt, withered. You say, you talking about physically? No, I'm talking about spiritually. To the point that they forget you still need to pray. Don't get so engrossed into computers and to TV, and then you're trying to binge watch on different things that you forget you still need Jesus in your life. It's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to actually do something about it. And we need to actually fill ourselves with the Word. We need to be looking more to God more than we ever have before. And I'm going to do my best to get it out to you. That way you can say, well, I listened to my pastor this week. But see, I'm not just the pastor here. You got other ministers that you can hear from. I want you to really engross yourself into the Word. Get into the Bible. Do your studying. Have nothing on but good gospel music. When you sit around, TV can get boring after a while. So turn on some music. Listen to some good Christian music. Stir your heart. Get a little shout in your step. Don't become impotent. Don't become lame. Don't become halt. Don't become withered. But be on fire for God. And as you get on fire for God, you'll be able to say, Lord, I'm rising up, I'm ready, I'm wanting to do something. I gotta get, yeah, we all can't wait till we finally get out of quarantine, as they more or less have told us and everything. But I hope and pray that once this is ended, that it has stirred so much in people's hearts that the only thing in their mind is, I got to get to the house of God. I'm looking forward to the churches having more individuals associate within them when this is over with. Because as I said, the crowds don't seem to be up there anymore. Your elderly are faithful. I'd like to see our young people get the fire stirred back within them. I'd like to get every person to shake off that impotent feeling and say, I'm ready to get mine. Where's your pool, Bethesda? Well, there's one right here that we invite you to, the Dalton, Georgia Church of God Mountain Assembly, and we just hope that you come and visit us, be with us as soon as it's over with. We've got many things going on. We're getting ready to have to replace our heating unit. It's going in, hopefully with no interruptions, actually, during this week. Of course, it's going to seem funny, the heating would be in just as we need to turn the air conditioner on. But heat, air, whatever it may be, we've not been hindered about having services. And I hate it that the government has put this upon us. We just want each and every one of you be watchful, be praying. Be praying for me. Pray for my family. As I said, you just imagine, it's like an itch. You can't scratch it enough about being not here in the house of God. I'm going to try to still come over weekly and right here from the church and try to preach to you. If I can't from here, I can do it from my office, wherever it may be. I want you to get the word, and I want you to know I love you, I miss you, I care for you, and be praying for me and my family. Be praying for me and others. Someone asked me a question the other day, did I know anybody who's been going through this virus? Because out mid here in the Dalton area, we haven't seen as many cases as a big, huge city would be. We're not a small town, but we have had our cases. And I don't know the individuals personally, but I do know of individuals. We have a couple ministers in our assembly that is dealing with it right now. And be praying for them. Brother Wayne Eisen in Indiana and Brother Rick Massengale there in Monroe, Michigan. And Brother Rick is actually under ventilation still and not doing as well in ICU. But we know God will move and touch. Just a man of God that needs to be out ministering the word. So keep him in your prayers. And all of our ministers, all of our churches, remember them. Remember our elderly. I know you have some that's family members yourself that they can't get out. Give them a call. Go visit them. Let them know how much you love them. If you get a chance, call them and say, hey, are you needing any food? Take them something to eat. Show them that you care. Don't let them become impotent. Don't let them make their home a pool Bethesda, sitting around waiting and wanting and hungry. Make them come out and get to the house of God with a hunger as well, and it's going to start from you. I love you, I praise you, and appreciate the time that you shared with me. And as again, I will do whatever I can in getting the word to you. And as this is new to me, and if the quality of this doesn't look as good, I'm sorry. We're trying. We're doing our best. I'm not that tech savvy. I do know how to use a laptop, and more than just on Facebook. But I do need your prayers and help and understanding. I'm ready to grow. I've been looking up all week on how to find areas and all that to be able to bring this out. May God bless you, and take the joy of the Lord with you always.